good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Yes, Saturday morning, July the 11th. How on earth did we get to July? I have no idea how we got to July, but we did somehow. And, oh gosh, we're also halfway through the summer. Well, let's see. Why am I here today? What am I doing? Why are you guys here today? What are we all doing? It's story time. Yes, it is. It is story time. And there are so many stories. I was going to, first of all, I decided I'm going to tell a story about an incident with voodoo. I know people get the wrong idea about voodoo. They think it's spooky stuff. That's because of the movies and everything make it sound like a terrible thing, and it's actually quite a pure religion if you care to research it. But then I thought, no, I'm not going to tell that story. I don't know why. I'm thinking this morning, what story could I tell? And there are so many to choose from. So I decided, I was thinking yesterday, I was talking to a friend of mine about the amount of time that I used to travel. And I've got some absolutely brilliant travel stories to tell for another time. But I was thinking of when I used to fly to Hong Kong. And of course, by this time, I think this time today, I should have been flying to Italy. We had it all planned. I was going to go to Italy to stay with a friend of mine for 2 or 3 weeks. And then I was going to go off to England and spend another 2 or 3 weeks, if not a month, in England. Of course, as everybody knows, all of our plans have been scuppered, haven't they? However, I am going to get on a plane, and I think that's what reminded me of the story I'm going to tell you today. I am going to get on a plane this week. People are telling me don't do it, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm going to go to New York to see my darling boy and my darling girl. So I'm heading to New York, everybody. Not to avoid Florida by any means. And I don't want to get into the COVID thing this morning, but honestly and truthfully, I don't know what you're hearing or what you're reading, but it really isn't that bad here. I'm going to just verify that. Michelle, it's not that bad here, is it?
It's not really that bad.
Everybody's saying it's awful, don't go to Florida, so on and so forth. But really and truly, again, it's all about if you take care, you do the right thing, it's really fine. But I'm going to go to New York this week because I haven't held my darling boy in so long, and I haven't cuddled my darling girl in so long. I just can't resist it any longer. They were supposed to come here but decided not to, so I'm going to go there to see them. So I was thinking about planes and getting on planes, and I suddenly remembered the story of my trip to Hong Kong one time. I've been to Hong Kong many times, but on this particular occasion I was flying back from Hong Kong to England. And the flight is anywhere between a 15 and a 16-hour flight. So, it can be, unless you make sure to take stuff with you, you've got a good book to read and all of that stuff, it can be a little bit boring. I actually never find travel boring at all, and I'm a pretty good traveler. But here we are. So it was a night flight. So now we begin the story. So I'm going to begin the story with, as you all know, as all good stories must begin, if my darling boy is watching, as all good stories must begin once upon a time. So once upon a time, I was on a plane flying from Hong Kong to England. And I'd had a great trip, done a lot of work. I was very busy. It was a business trip, so I was very busy and doing all the stuff that I wanted to do, and got on the plane, and it was a night flight. So you know how you do, you get on the plane and you say hello to the people you're sitting next to, if you're sitting next to anybody at all. And I had an aisle seat, and the couple sitting next to me, there was a a young man who was about, I'm going to say, 30 years old, and he was with his mother, and his mother was sitting by the window seat. So this young man, who was very tall, actually, very long-legged, was sitting in the middle seat. The flight was cramped. There was no space. It was just one of those things. You know, loads and loads of people on the flight. And at one point he did say to me, would you mind switching seats with me, because I don't want the middle seat. And usually I'd say yes, but this was a night flight and I needed sleep, and I'd been working and one thing and another, so I said, actually no, you can't have my seat. So the poor lad just had to sit and squirm in his middle seat and try and get to sleep with his long legs. Anyway, here we go. So now I started chatting to them, and his mother was lovely, and they said they'd been on holiday to Hong Kong, they'd had a great time, and so on and so forth. And she said, you know, this is my son, and we're going home, and just chit-chatting. So at some point, we start to settle down because the lights go off in the plane. When it's a night flight and everybody wants to sleep, they turn the lights off and they give you a mask to put on, and not the kind of mask we're wearing now. They give you eye masks so that you're not disturbed, and even earbuds if you want them, and so everybody, and blankets, of course. So everybody got their chairs reclined, and we were all going to sleep. So my neighbours in the seats next to me settled down, and they were soon snoozing. I don't sleep a lot, and when I'm travelling I particularly don't sleep, but I thought I'm going to try and get to sleep at some point. I put my book down, settled down, lay down in my blanket, closed my eyes, tap, tap, tap on my shoulder, and I brushed it off. I didn't care who it was. Again, tap, tap, tap on my shoulder. Now, is it true that the spirit world can travel? Yes, they can astral travel, we know that. But is it true that they can come with us in cars and planes and taxis and trains? And it's true. Anyway, again, tap, tap, tap. And I hear this man's voice say to me, excuse me, he's my brother, pointing to the guy in the middle seat. That's my brother, that's my mother, that's my brother. Great. I'm going to sleep. Go away, go away. So tap, tap, tap again. I want to talk to him. Would you talk to him for me? You have to go away now. Greg, can you take him away? Send him away. I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. Tap, tap, tap. Over an hour goes by. Every now and again, this young man keeps tapping me on the shoulder because he wants to talk to his brother. And in the end, it became so frustrating for me. I was tired. I was irritable. You've got to go away. You've got to let me try at least to get some sleep. And in the end, I had to promise him. I said, listen, if you leave me alone now and let me get some sleep, if I have an opportunity in the morning when we wake up, if I have an opportunity, I will let them know that you're around, but only if I have the opportunity. He was happy with that, and I got a little bit of sleep. And, you know, all of a sudden you hear the stewardesses are coming around, they're bringing you breakfast, everybody sits up, we say good morning. I say good morning to my neighbours in the seats next to me, and tap, tap, tap on my shoulder. I start to chuckle because this kid, whoever it is who's trying to get through from the spirit world, is just simply not giving up. Absolutely not giving up. So I had my breakfast and I sort of braced myself a little bit, and then I said to this guy behind me, I said, all right, I said, if I get the opportunity, what is it that you would like to say to him? He said, well, he's my brother. I said, okay. So he said, well, I died of cancer and he's wearing my ring. And I looked down at the man, the guy's hand, the young man's hand. They're sitting next to me in the seat. Sure enough, he was wearing a ring. And this young man said, that's actually my ring. He's wearing my ring. So if you could just let them know that I'm here. Now, when you're on a plane, there are a lot of other people, and as quietly as you might want to speak, everybody else around you can pretty much hear what you're saying if they're paying attention. If they're listening, of course, they can hear every word. So I'm thinking, all right, well, I'll wait for the opportunity. And I said to Greg, well, should I do this? Yes, he said, you'll get the opportunity. And he's been waiting an awfully long time to talk to his brother. So, okay, if I get the opportunity, I'll do it. So we chit-chatted. And then I started doing a crossword puzzle. And the mother of these two boys talking to me, oh, you do crosswords. I love crossword puzzles. And she pulls out her own crossword puzzle. And we start chatting about this and that, talking over this young man, who then says to me, you sure you won't switch seats with me because you could talk to my mother then? I said, no, I'm really fine. So we're chatting about crosswords, and then they're telling me about their vacation and so on and so forth. And at some point it was obvious to me that I wasn't actually going to be able to sort of go into this nicely and smoothly. And I don't usually, unless somebody asks me, can you see anyone for me? It's extremely rare, very, very rare, that I will dive in. But we were getting closer to England. The flight was getting closer. We were having less and less time. So I promised this young man that I would see if I could give a message to his brother. And Gregor had said, yes, it's okay. So at some point, I look at this young man sitting next to me, and I said to him, so that's a nice ring you're wearing. And he looked at it, and he said, oh, yeah. And I said, so it belonged to your brother. He sort of swung his head to me. He said, what? And the mother sort of, her eyes went wide. And I said, so I understand the ring belonged to your brother. And he said, well, how do you know that? And I explained, I don't usually do this. I didn't mean to upset them or to shock them. However, your brother has been plaguing me all night and all this morning. I have this young man standing next to me, and he tells me he died of cancer and that you're wearing his ring. Does that mean anything to you? And the mother started crying and getting excited, and oh my gosh, and I can't believe it. This is wonderful. And the young man looked at me as if I'd got two heads, and he said, what are you talking about? I don't know you. So I said, no, but then I went on to explain, look, your brother has been on the plane with us all the way from Hong Kong. We're soon going to be arriving in England. And so he asked me specifically, could I give you a message? Because apparently you've been waiting for ages. He's been gone a few years now, and you've been waiting for ages, and you talk to him, and you know that he's around you, and you do wonder if he's okay or not. And so he's taken this opportunity. So here I am. We've taken this opportunity to let you know that he's safe and well. And the mother reaches over her son, grabs my hands, and she said, please, would you tell us more? Can you tell us more? Is he really there? And so for the next 45 minutes or so, I talked to her son in the spirit world, who was giving messages to his brother and to his mother. And some of the information was so incredible and so amazing. I mean, we're strangers on a plane, remember this. But also remember, there are no coincidences. There is never a coincidence. How was it that I ended up sitting next to these two people? And how was it that we were able to have this amazing conversation? Do you think it just happened? Do you think it's coincidental? Because I don't believe that it was. I believe that I was put in that seat with this couple for a reason. And that reason was that this lovely young man in the spirit world who died of a horrible brain cancer wanted to talk to his mother and to his brother to reassure them that he was okay. He saw that I was there, took that perfect opportunity, tap, tap, tap on the shoulder. That's often how the spirit world will connect. If you're not expecting it, they'll tap you on the shoulder, they'll stroke your face, you might feel something around you, you don't quite know what it is, but that's how they'll try to let you know that they're around. This young man, however, was very persistent, very, very persistent, and as I've said, it was only when I promised him that I would talk to his brother, that I would give his brother messages, that he let me sleep for a little bit. Now, the interesting thing is that as I was talking to them, of course, the three of us were now together, and I should really say the four of us, shouldn't I? Because the brother was there as well. And of course, Grey Eagle was there, so that makes five of us, really. And so we were all talking together, and I was giving them messages, and I was talking about the house this young man had just bought, and all of the renovations that he was hoping to do to it. And I was talking to them about their lives. The brother was trying to let his brother know, I can see everything you do. I can see everything I can see you. I can really see you. But we were on a plane, and I mentioned earlier, it was a crowded plane. And at one point, I actually had occasion to look up, and I could see the people on the opposite aisle sort of leaning back in their seats with their heads turned, listening. I could see the people in the front sort of leaning back with their heads turned, listening. And all of a sudden I was aware that the whole crowd of people around us were not saying anything, but they were really listening intently, because it was very obvious to all of us that, well, I didn't know these people, so how could I know that this young 30-year-old young man had just bought a house that was absolutely dilapidated, and he was going to renovate it, and he was in the process of doing the plumbing. I mean, how could I know on a plane? How could I know these things on a plane? And anyway, how come people in the spirit world can travel on a plane with us? I mean, don't they astral travel? I mean, yes, we know that they do, but really traveling on a plane, in a car, on a train, or whatever, can they really do that too? And this story is to let you know that actually, wherever you are, whatever it is that you're doing, your loved ones in the spirit world, if they're given the opportunity, they can reach out and let you know that they are actually with you. There's so much going on in the world today, and so many of us feel alone. We feel trapped. So many of us, like myself, we're in the house. We don't have people coming to visit. Nobody comes to visit anymore. Have you noticed? So it's a very isolating situation that we're in right now. But if you remember, whether you're in a car, whether you're on a plane, whether you're on a train, whether you're in the supermarket, whether you're at the doctor's, whether you're in the hospital, whether you're in the movies, wherever you are, your loved ones in the spirit world can find you, and they can communicate with you, and they are around you and guiding you and helping you with your lives and helping you with your situations. So how did this story end? Well, it ended up that I ended up sitting in the middle seat for the last hour or something of the flight, holding the lovely mother of this young man, holding her, talking to her, reassuring her. Their son, the one sitting next to me, well, not standing behind me, right? You know the difference. Sitting next to me, got out his cine camera and decided that he was going to take a little movie of myself and his mother sitting and chatting and talking. And people were actually now not just sort of surreptitiously listening, but they were actually turning in their seats and looking and smiling and chatting amongst themselves, because they could see the joy and the happiness that had been brought to these two people, a mother and her son, missing their son, brother, and being absolutely thrilled that even on a plane they could come together and they could talk to each other. Yes, albeit through a medium, but nevertheless they could connect, and that they were together no matter where they were. Did you like that story, Michelle?
I love that story.
So as all good stories must end, the end. There has to always be a beginning, and there has to always be an end. So, so again, was it a coincidence? Of course it wasn't a coincidence. Don't be ridiculous. There are no coincidences, because the most amazing things, I think, happen to all of us. And, you just never know. You just never know when someone in the spirit world is going to tap you on the shoulder and let you know that they're around you. What you all have to do is to pay attention and make sure that you're listening in the very best way that you can. Right, comments and questions, Michelle.
Before we get to comments and questions, you have to tell everybody.
About what?
Question.
What question?
One question. Because we're on so many different sites. One question apiece.
Oh. All right. Had forgotten. Sorry. We're muttering away to ourselves here. So it is true. All right. So here's the deal with this restreaming thing, which I think is brilliant, because it means that we can be on so many different mediums at the same time. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're on 2 Facebook pages. And what happened on Thursday, on our Thursday show, is we got so inundated with questions from people. So we've decided to make a little bit of a rule, all right? So the rule is one person, one question. So be very thoughtful before you ask your questions or make your comments. And then once we've dealt with all of those questions, if somebody wants to ask a second question, and if there is time to ask a second question, then we'll let you know and you can pile in with your second question. But for the moment, please, if you could sort of bear with us. We're new to this, you see, and we're not sure how it's working, but we did get so inundated. On Thursday, some people asked 3 questions. Actually, a couple asked 4 questions. We love it. We love you asking questions. We love you wanting to join in. We don't want to stop you asking your questions, but hold off a little bit. Ask your first question. Think carefully what it might be. We'll do our best to answer. And as we're going along, if there is time, as I've said, we will say, okay, all of you asked 1 question. If you want to ask another one, let's go. Let's keep it going. All right, is that good, Michelle? So now Michelle is here. Good morning, Michelle. I forgot to say good morning to Michelle. I forgot to say good morning to Grey Eagle. And actually, Choro is on the sofa with me today. He's had a haircut. If you could see him, you'd think, wow, such a handsome boy. And he's sort of nicely trimmed and feeling better about himself, and he's curled up on the sofa. His eye just opened, and he just sort of gave me, one of those sidelong, when it looks... So he knows I'm talking about him. Enough of all of that. He's
getting ready to get spoiled.
Yeah. Michelle is taking him to her house. Woo-hoo. He is. No extra food, though.
No extra food.
So he's on a special diet. And he's doing okay. Michelle's taking him, and she's got 2 teenagers. I say teenagers.
They're teenagers.
Well, Gwen
They're
is
12 and 14.
Gwen is not quite a teenager. She's a teenager next year, and they love him, and he'll be in their beds and snuggling with them and having a blast. So, all right. So, right, Michelle. Okay, let's go for it, shall we?
So the very first one is from Asma.
Good morning, Asma.
It says, hello, love watching you. You are right, there are no coincidences. Yay. I started watching you after my mother's death 2 months back. And what is that? Surprisingly, you were the same Alice pendant that what my mother used to wear.
Oh.
I'm lost after her death. I don't know how I can connect with her. And don't know if she sees me or feels me. Can you please guide me?
Asma, absolutely she's with you. Absolutely she sees you. It's not about whether those in the spirit world see us. It's about whether we're listening and whether we're paying attention. So what I'm going to advise you to do, my darling, is to take 10 minutes of every day just to sit and be quiet. The only question you're allowed to ask in this 10-minute period is, Are you there? And if so, I just want to spend this time with you. If you want to let me know you're around, but if you don't, or if you're busy, that's okay too. Then you have to shut up. You have to be quiet. You can't say another word, but you have to listen and you have to pay attention. And listening not just with your ears, but listening with your eyes, listening with every one of your five senses, and paying attention to the senses and to the feelings that are around you. It might take you a week, it might take you a month, it might take you a year or 2 years. But eventually, if you do this on a daily basis, just give 10 minutes over without asking. Do not do what we always want to do. I've done it myself, but don't do it. Do not say, show me a sign, give me a hint, let me hear, because the more you're talking and talking and talking, the less you are listening, the less you are paying attention. So you have to say, in your case, hi Mom, I'm here, this is my 10 minutes. I just want to spend time with you. I just want to spend these 10 minutes with you. And I love you very much. And if you're around, you can let me know or not, as you choose. Then be quiet. Stop. And not just stop talking, stop thinking about all of those questions, because thoughts are living things. Next week, I'm going to tell a story about how thoughts are living things and how, people can actually, if we allow them to, they can control your mind. We're not going to do that today, but stop thinking, where are you? Give me a sign. Stop talking. Stop asking for anything other than, this is my time with you and I'm just going to sit here and spend it with you. And if you do that, Asma, and you take your time and you're consistent with it, you will connect with your mom. You will. She'll let you know that she's there one way or another. Okay. Yep. Keep going.
Okay. So right before you put up the statement that we were only going to allow one question.
Oh, yeah.
Mary sent in 2 in one paragraph.
All right. Well, go on then. And go live. So I should be back on. Am I on? I should be back on, and I've lost all of the questions.
That's okay.
I've lost everything.
Nope, it's showing you're back live.
There we go.
Can everybody hear us?
Just let us know if you can hear us. I don't know what happened. Golly, I switched all the notifications off. It should not have come through. I don't quite know what to do about that. But when we get notifications, or when somebody rings in or calls in, it actually switches everything off. But I can see we're back. Let's hope it wasn't too much of a glitch even. Keep going. Let's go to Mary's question.
We're on Mary's question.
So okay, if you can just go for one question, everybody, because we get a lot of people on, lots of questions. So if you can go for one question, and then once we've done everybody's questions, if there's time for a second question, we shall let you know, and you can give us more questions. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So Mary said, if allowed, here are 2 questions.
Come on.
And it says, why do you think Gray Eagle always stands to your right side behind your shoulder? And the second part of the question is, does Gray Eagle think it's safe to send the kids back to school during the COVID?
Oh, that's a good question. All right. Why does he always stand to my right? He doesn't actually. Sometimes we'll see him, in front of me, whichever side of me. I mean, I see him in all sorts of things. But when I'm working, yes, he does actually marry. Good spotting there. When I'm working, yes, he usually is standing to my right side. I think maybe it's because I'm right-handed. I don't know, but I think it's just the way that I can hear him more, and also from my. It's so weird, isn't it? This energy thing. But from my left side is where I can see and be aware. And usually, not always, again, sometimes I see them in front of me, sometimes I see them to the right of me, but I'll often look, as Gregor is coming in from this side, I'll often look to the left to see who I can see in the spirit world. Don't ask me anymore because I don't know. What was the second question? Yes. Really,
she would like to know what Gregor thinks about the kids going back to school during this pandemic.
I think, I know that in New York with my grandson, they're talking about kids going back to school 2 days a week. But if they're going back to school 2 days a week, I don't quite understand why they're not going back 5 days a week, because 2 days a week you're in amongst a class of people. I was telling Michelle, I was driving along a really very busy road yesterday, and there was a guy in one of those